First, a short introduction of myself. I am a chaired professor at McGill in the business school in consumer and lifestyle psychology and marketing, but I'm also the founding chair and scientific director of something that is called the McGill Center for the Convergence of Health and Economics. And this notion of the work that you are doing at Comfocus, I was looking this morning at the various posters that you have in the back. You are already doing not only convergence, but precision convergence research. And that is what I will take maybe 10, 15 minutes to brief you on. And then I'll shift to my colleague, Damien, because in addressing complex challenges, such as innovating in the food space for improving nutrition, environment, social justice, and so on, at the same time as we continue to be profitable and being able to economically survive, it does require not only a community of scientific discipline, but also that those scientific disciplines converge toward real-world solutions at scale, whether those solutions are behavioral change or whether they are innovation in food space and so on. And as I was reviewing your various projects, some of them on labeling, packaging, and all in terms of how can we move the yardstick of innovation so that we look at this convergence of, I always say, making money with the good stuff. And that is essentially one part, but the other part is building demand for the good stuff on the behavioral side, which, as you know as well as me, is not that simple. And that is why across all of this, when we talk about communication, or community building, we talk about language. We talk about the need, and so much of what Comfocus has been achieving is developing this harmonization of measure, harmonization of term, and so on, which in the space of human behavior is extremely, extremely important and needed. So as you are getting in the last year of the grant, I would say it's just the beginning. Keep going and keep advancing, not only your respective scientific discipline, but also our ability to bring solutions at scale. In the context of environment, 2030 is quite soon, and we have already passed the actual amount that was targeted for 2030 in terms of temperature and so on. So that's kind of the motivation. Can I get the next one? Okay, our presentation here. Now get to just the overview of the presentation. First, I will talk briefly about this precision convergence, where next generation innovation, practice, and policy to accelerate behavioral change and ecosystem transformation at scale. And then Damien, who has joined the International Advisory Committee with me this year, is the lead developer of what you may have heard, food ontology, and will be briefing on thinking about ontology as this way of not only building community among humans, but most importantly, as we move to the AI and digital, machines talk only when they can communicate with each other. And that's really why we zoom the most part of this presentation of understanding what we are talking about when we talk about ontology, but also how we can build an ontology ecosystem where we place the human behavior, let's say, between agriculture, between food, and so on and so forth. Next slide. So here we have a book that will come out, was supposed to come out next week, but it will come out in April, where essentially the term convergence first, let me talk about it. It has been 2011, I believe, a couple of science papers by Phil Sharp, a Nobel Prize on the medical side, saying that with the advance of genomic, advance of engineering, and an advance in clinical science, we can move to another level if we bring this collaboration around concrete solution. And what we are building upon in moving to what I call precision convergence is twofold. A lot of your measures in physiology and so on are related to capturing the individual diversity on the biological side. And a lot of this precision medicine, precision, other use of precision targeting on those, how can we get this alignment between the individual and the intervention and the outcome. We are bringing this to say, in addressing at scale, can we bring the neurobiology or the neurophysiology of behavior and linking this also with all the social systems that are necessary to create the context. So here, if you look at the individual and the family nested within their community, but if you interact with the food system, you know very well that you get enterprise, you get organization, you get institution, and from that perspective, when Comfocus talk about the 3 levels of building community, that illustrate what are those units at the institutional level, moving to industry, moving to whole of society ecosystem. And the surrounding part is that when you think here in what understanding the context of a human making a behavior at a given point in time, that context is potentially defined by various levels of policy, various levels of investment from the community nested into the country, into the EU, or into the world. So that's this perspective that we are saying, can we connect the behavioral insights with the data analytics to be able to start embracing some of this complexity? And one, the circle to the right is to say, we are at a point in time in mankind history that data and AI and so on can be a core connector between the science and between also the actors that are out there in the community, whether it is education, agriculture, and so on and so forth. So you are the 67 or 62 scholars here, you can be really a core seed in this transformation because you already have all the diversity of discipline and you are bringing them on accelerating concrete solution. Next slide. And I don't want to bring take too much time. Here, when we talk about building community at the world level in a complex manner, as you know, it takes time. Here, this is a PNAS paper we had published in 2012 as part of a special feature calling for the bringing system science approach to understanding the individual behavior, and that's a key point here, is that individual behavior is not independent of what happened in the agri-food system innovation, in the environmental, in the health and healthcare. So this is just to come back to the notion of if you compound this with the various jurisdictions, you compound this with the various sector, private sector, public and government, we can say it's too complex, I'm giving up and there's no science to bring there. Or we can say, can we start embracing by some of that complexity. And that's really one of the perspective. This is an excellent new book on this ecosystem economy. Can we understand and work with our social and technical and economic context the same way we know of ecosystem working, where everything is interacting and so on. Briefly here, going to this precision convergence I was talking about. If you look at the various projects here that you have, okay, you don't get into the mechanistic dopaminergic type of mechanism, but you are studying various aspects of the neurophysiology. You are also studying how can this inform whether it's for product formulation, if you are in the food space, or whether it is packaging and so on. So can we think of the community of human, but the community of knowledge that can kind of see all of those pieces as part of the same kind of paradigm that you are creating. And I would argue that you are already in excellent direction for this. Some of you are working on plant-based protein or for others. So the question is that to what extent bringing this more social or food with the biological can really help you to make this happen. Next step. Okay, so here, here, and I will just wrap up in no more than 3 or 4 minutes. Here, the point that I also want to make with this, we talk about consumer. Comfocus is about consumer science. But when you start trying to change some of the deeply ingrained value, maybe you want to think about, as a human being, you have various roles that are operating at the same time. Very often when you think about consumer, we think of us as the driven, impulsive buyer and so on and so forth. But if I am trying to engage this same person in an economically viable behavior that is also attached to more human value, think about the way you would be talking about two different roles that person is saying, and this person being, and this is here a behavioral analytic platform, how to learn to dissect those various pieces that you can put together. Okay, so here, this is a colleague from California working, who is finishing his PhD in medicine and has a PhD in computer science. This notion of if we dream of what can be a next generation, how to put this together, can we help the person, the consumer, to navigate everyday life? And this is, from that perspective, imagine the community of science that you need to bring to be able to link all of this together. Next one. So here, and that's my last one here, back to the data and to why ontology is so critical. We have been doing about the research program and the academic training, but if we are to have impact at scale, it's not just within academia we need to play. It's also with the action partner. And if you look at the various stakeholders that you already have in the Comfocus projects, there is how can there be here that interface between the research and the action so that we provide the digital infrastructure that can help support the human and the institutional collaboration. And the challenges are real because Everybody wants to keep their data, what is it into sharing and so on and so forth. But that is why ontology, as Damien will be elaborating, are so important to kind of both to harmonize, talking to the same term for the same objects, but also you don't create an ontology and leave it there. It gives a purpose for a community to really kind of build for itself the capacity for working together. And I will end here and invite my colleague Damien. Thank you.